المالية والبنوك الدولية للتفكير في آلية تمويل تفعل في حال ما إذا طلبت إحدى البلدان المتضررة ذلك. السيد الرئيس، لقد شهد العالم قرابة عامين متتاليين الجرائم الشنعاء التي ارتكبت في حق الشعب الفلسطيني الأعزل، وعاين حجم الدمار الذي خلفته هذه الحرب الهمجية، الأمر الذي يدفعنا للإعراب عن أملنا في أن تبادر دول مجموعة العشرين بإطلاق تعبئة عامة قصد بناء غد أفضل للشعب الفلسطيني، مؤكدا التزام بلادي بإعلان انضمامها إلى كل خطوة قد تتخذها بهذا الصدد. أشكركم على حسن الإصغاء.
Thank you. There was no real instantaneous translation to that input. Could the translation people look into it? But we now move on. Can it be done now? Yes, let it be done.
Excellency President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. I would like to convey to you the greetings of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, who entrusted me with delivering his address to this summit as follows. Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Permit me to start by expressing my sincere gratitude to His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa for his kind invitation to my country to participate in this important summit, the first ever held on African soil, which represents a moment of immense pride for our entire continent. Algeria highly commends the priorities and topics proposed during this session, which reflect a profound understanding and awareness of the magnitude of the complex challenges facing our world today, both politically and economically, and which will significantly impact global harmony if not addressed seriously, collectively, and swiftly. Mr. President, with regard to the priorities put before us in this meeting, allow me to make the following comments. First, Algeria reiterates its call for an urgent solution to the issue of the burden of the debt and its servicing on developing and poorest countries. This solution should include a partial debt write-off or its conversion to direct and viable investments in these countries, while taking into account the need to correct the technical complexities of risk assessment through profound reforms that will provide a way out for countries struggling under the weight of the sovereign debt. Second, Algeria joins the voices of countries calling for the reform of international financial organizations within a framework of sound economic financial governance. This includes reviewing decision-making mechanisms to ensure fair, equitable, and transparent representation for developing countries and the African continent within the governing bodies of these institutions. Third, Algeria, which has consistently advocated for mobilizing international funding and resources to support global efforts to empower developing countries and the poorest nations with the means and technologies of green energy transition, calls for the establishment of bilateral and international partnerships in this field. Fourth, Algeria supports all initiatives aimed at increasing funding allocated to major risk prevention and rapid disaster response, and calls for urging international financial institutions and banks to consider a financing mechanism that can be activated should an affected country request it. Mr. President, for nearly 2 consecutive years, the world has witnessed the heinous crimes committed against the defenseless Palestinian people and has seen the extent of the devastation wrought by this war. This compels us to express our hope that the G20 countries would launch a comprehensive mobilization to build a better future for the Palestinian people, and I reaffirm my country's commitment to supporting any step they may take in this regard. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. I'd now like to call upon the Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Dr. Mustafa Madbouly, to take the floor.
His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, Excellencies, Heads of the States and Government, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to join you today on behalf of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi at the G20 Summit. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the sisterly Republic of South Africa for the warm hospitality and excellent organization of the first summit on African soil, and to express Egypt's deep appreciation to the South African G20 presidency for its kind invitation to participate as a guest in the G20 meetings this year. We also commend South Africa's leadership in steering the group's work and in advancing Africa's priorities. In a world faced by unprecedented global challenges, the G20 has a critical role in addressing the main global economic challenges, including the reform of the international financial architecture to ensure that it is responsive to the developmental needs of developing countries. This includes enhancing access to concessional finance through establishing new financial mechanisms while strengthening the effectiveness of existing ones, improving the business models and financing capabilities of the IFIs and the MDBs, and ensuring stronger representation of developing countries in the global economic governance. It is also imperative to reform the complicated global debt landscape by establishing new mechanisms for managing debt in a comprehensive and sustainable manner in low-income and middle-income countries. We also aspire to reinvigorate the global commitment of multilateralism, including the rule-based multilateral trading system with the WTO at its core, to promote trade as engine of sustainable development and inclusive growth. Excellencies, peace and development are strongly interlinked. The Sharm el-Sheikh Peace Summit that ended the war in Gaza paved the way for a more stable, peaceful, and prosperous Middle East. We welcome the adoption of the Security Council resolution on Gaza Strip on November 17th, and we stress the urgent need to start the implementation of the second phase of President Trump's plan to deal with the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza through providing the necessary humanitarian assistance and to embark on the early recovery and reconstruction of the Strip without delay, while working at the same time on a final settlement of the Palestinian question based on the two-state solution. Egypt will host an international conference on the early recovery and reconstruction in Gaza, and I invite your countries to participate in it. In conclusion, I look forward to achieving constructive outcomes out of this summit to fulfill the aspiration of our peoples for a better world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I now would like to request the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Vice President Kashim Shettima, to take the floor and address us.
Mr. President, heads of state and government, excellencies, let me at the outset express appreciation to His Excellency President Matameta Cyril Ramaphosa for the warm reception in this beautiful city of Johannesburg. May I further use this opportunity to congratulate him on the successes of the South Africa G20 presidency, including his purposeful leadership in steering the affairs of the group in a number of processes and negotiations which will culminate in a leader's declaration. Nigeria, as one of the invited guest countries of this year's G20 summit, commends the concerted efforts of the group in mobilizing action towards accelerated attainment of inclusive sustainable growth, where financing for development is guaranteed and no one or country is left behind. The theme of the Session 1 of the Leaders Summit, Inclusive and Sustainable Economic Growth, leaving no one behind, building our economies, the role of trade, financing for development, and the debt burden is apt and speaks to the challenges of developing countries. The current multilateral framework do not adequately reflect the realities of today's world. Many developing nations continue to face systematic barriers to economic growth, trade, and financial inclusivity. For trade to be truly inclusive, the G20 must take bold steps towards reforming the international financial architecture and global institutions. Only a more equitable and effective system can fairly manage global financial flows, address recurring debt crises, and respond to the needs of all nations, especially those in the global south. Africa cannot realize the positive paradigm shift we seek in its development trajectory without a collective resolve of the G20. Together, we must confront the persistent regional challenges before us, most notably the urgent need for sustainable financing to ensure effective implementation of our developmental priorities. Across many regions, rising debt burdens continue to constrain economic progress and transform local challenges into global vulnerabilities. Ensuring debt sustainability, while responsibly leveraging critical minerals for inclusive and enduring development, must remain central priorities for the G20. The G20 must, in the adoption of the Leaders' Declaration, take very seriously the need to advance policies that drive sustainable growth, promote financial inclusion, and tackle emerging risk. This includes support for indigenous production, export from Africa, and mechanism to enhance significant increase in FDI flows to the African region. Nigeria has in recent times demonstrated its readiness for both foreign direct and portfolio investments. This progress is driven in part by the fiscal policies introduced by the present administration, all aimed at enhancing the ease of doing business in Nigeria. We are committed to establishing 1,000 active businesses in each ward in Nigeria, with a clear objective of stimulating our local economy through grassroots empowerment, skills acquisition, and job creation. We commend the efforts of the World Trade Organization and its leadership for providing technical assistance to boost fair trade, including through the Women Exporters in the Digital Economy Fund launched in 2024. This initiative has provided grants and technical support to women entrepreneurs and strengthened their digital capabilities and access to global markets. Mr. President, as I conclude, I reaffirm Nigeria's unalloyed commitment to the G20. Let us continue to work side by side, shaping an economic future that uplifts every nation and leaves no one or country behind. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President. I now ask His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Constantino Chiwenga, to take the floor.
Your Excellency President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, Your Excellencies, Zimbabwe joins others to thank the presidents of South Africa's G20 chair, Excellencies, Zimbabwe appreciates the opportunity to engage with the G20 as we collectively chart a trajectory towards inclusive and sustainable economic growth. Over the past few years, our global economies have faced multiple shocks and geopolitical tensions that have disrupted global supply chains. Our shared vision should therefore be one of building resilient and innovative economies that deliver prosperity for all. In Zimbabwe, our national strategy is firmly aligned with the 2030 Agenda and the African Union's Agenda 2063. Our focus is on one, value addition industrialization by moving up global value chain, and two, human capital development by creating decent jobs, empowering youth and women, strengthening and formalizing SMEs as essential drivers for inclusive growth. And three, structural reforms by enhancing the ease of doing business, including the use of artificial intelligence, strengthening governance and improving transparency across value chains. And four, climate resilience, accelerating investments in renewable energy, decarbonization, climate adaptation, and water security to safeguard our development trajectory from systematic shocks. Excellencies, the G20 must reinforce a fair and transparent multilateral trading system under the World Trade Organization. Equally critical is addressing the major challenge of assessing affordable and sustainable finance. We welcome efforts to reform the international financial system and propose recapitalization of multilateral development banks to expand concessional and climate finance. Two, promotion of innovative financing through active re-promotion of mechanisms such as the green bonds, blended finance, and diaspora investments. And third, curbing illicit flows and by strengthening efforts against illicit financial flows, tax evasion, and profit shifting to enhance domestic resource mobilization in developing countries. The growing debt burden continues to constrain development. Many nations are forced to choose between servicing debt and funding essential social services. We urgently need a comprehensive and equitable debt resolution approach. We encourage innovative solutions such as debt for climate, debt for development swaps. These measures are crucial to restoring debt sustainability while supporting long-term growth and resilience. Furthermore, the G20 Common Framework for Debt Treatments requires significant strengthening. In view of this, Zimbabwe seeks inclusion and active participation in an improved G20 Common Framework for the debt treatment process. We are ready to engage constructively to that end. The journey for inclusive and sustainable growth demands political will and an unwavering commitment to equitable development. Let us reaffirm our collective commitment to building a stronger, fairer, greener, and more humane global economy that truly leaves no one behind. I thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Chiwenga. I now have my last two speakers before we take a leg stretch break in order to go and take the family picture. soon we will be able to stretch our legs. I now ask His Highness Sheikh Khaled bin Al Nahyan, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates. Please take your floor.
شكرا فخامة الرئيس. فخامة سيريل رامافوزا رئيس جمهورية جنوب أفريقيا الصديقة، أصحاب الجلالة والفخامة والسمو، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الحضور الكريم، يسعدني في البداية أن أنقل إليكم تحيات صاحب السمو الشيخ محمد بن زايد آل نهيان رئيس الدولة حفظه الله، وتمنياته بالنجاح أعمال قمة مجموعة العشرين. وتقدم بخالص الشكر إلى فخامة الرئيس سيريل رامافوزا على دعوته الكريمة لدولة الإمارات للمشاركة في أعمال مجموعة العشرين لهذا العام. وكذلك عن تقديرنا للجهود التي تبذلها رئاسة جنوب أفريقيا في استضافة القمة لأول مرة في القارة الأفريقية. السيدات والسادة، يأتي اجتماعنا اليوم ليجسد روح الشراكة العالمية ويدعم ترابط الأسواق والتكامل الاقتصادي بين الدول
and to express the UAE's appreciation for the efforts undertaken by the South African
وتعمل دولة
presidency
الإمارات
in
بشكل
hosting
مستمر
the summit for the first time in
مع
Africa.
شركائها على تعزيز مسار التعاون الاقتصادي العالمي وترسيخ نظام تجاري دولي متوازن
Ladies and gentlemen, our meeting today embodies the spirit of global
بما
partnership,
يتيح مشاركة
strengthening
شاملة
collaboration
وفعالة
between economies across
للدول
every
النامية
region of the world.
في صياغة
The UAE
مستقبل
continues
النظام
to work
التجاري
closely with its
العالمي
partners to drive global economic
مما
cooperation.
يعزز
We
الوصول
are committed
إلى
to building
أفضل
a balanced and
الحلول
transparent
التمويلية
international trading system, a
لتطوير
system that is
المشاريع
inclusive and
التنموية
effective, that enables the
والاستثمارية
participation
في مجالات
of developing
التكنولوجيا
countries in shaping
المتقدمة
the future of global
والطاقة
trade,
والصحة
and that
والزراعة،
ensures access to better
مع
financing
تركيزنا
solutions
المستمر على
to
بناء
advance
القدرات
development.
ونقل المعرفة وتمكين المجتمعات.
In addition to advanced development,
ويسرني
also
اليوم
investment projects across
أن
critical
أعلن
sectors, including
عن إطلاق
advanced
مبادرة دولة
technology,
الإمارات
energy, health and
الذكاء
agriculture.
الاصطناعي
In
من أجل
addition, the
التنمية
UAE continues to prioritize building
التي
capabilities,
تخصص
transferring
مليار
knowledge
دولار
and empowering
أمريكي
communities.
لتمويل مشاريع الذكاء
Today, I am
الاصطناعي
pleased to announce the launch of
في
the
الدول
UAE
الأفريقية
initiative, AI for Development,
بهدف
which
دعم التنمية
allocates $1
الاقتصادية
billion
والاجتماعية
to
من
finance
خلال
artificial
تعزيز
intelligence
منظومة
projects
البنية
in
التحتية
African
الرقمية
nations. This
والارتقاء
initiative will strengthen digital
بالخدمات
infrastructure
الحكومية
to support social and
لرفع
economic
الإنتاجية
development, enhancing
وتحسين
government
جودة
services
الحياة.
to boost productivity and
الحضور
improving
الكريم،
quality of life.
نجدد اليوم
Distinguished
تأكيد التزام
guests,
دولة الإمارات
today
العربية
we reaffirm
المتحدة
the UAE's
بالعمل
commitment
مع
to
جميع
working with all
شركائها
its partners in
في
the
مجموعة
G20
العشرين
to
لترسيخ
advance
مسيرة التنمية
development and
والازدهار
prosperity across
في
the
العالم
world.
أجمع.
Thank you.
شكرا لكم.
Thank you, Your Highness. My last speaker in this segment, before we take a break for the family photo, whereafter we will then get international organizations to have their opportunity to speak. I now ask His Excellency Mr. Lee Kinyanjao, the Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry in the Republic of Kenya, who are also chairpersons of the East African Community. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Excellency. I talk on behalf of His Excellency Lee Kinyanjui, the Minister of Trade and Industry. I wish to take this opportunity to thank you for the invitation and the warm reception. So His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa and Chair of G20, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we wish to record our profound appreciation to the South African presidency of the G20 for its diligent stewardship and unwavering commitment to advancing a more equitable global economic order. We acknowledge the indispensable role that the G20 continues to play in addressing the deep-seated structural constraints confronting developing economies. This summit presents an excellent opportunity for us to examine the current state of play in the global economy as we devise the best trajectory towards achieving sustainable, inclusive, and transformative development. In this regard, we wish to express our support for the call to reform the international financial architecture so that it may deliver more substantial, more accessible, and more equitable development financing. As regions, we confirm our readiness to collaborate closely with all the relevant partners to ensure that the East African Community region and the Common Market for East and Southern Africa and the African continent as a whole are not merely beneficiaries, but full equal participants in the shaping of a more inclusive, sustainable, and representative global economy. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome G20 efforts to advance global disaster risk financing, investment in early warning systems for all, and strengthen capacity building across developing regions. We further support stronger G20 leadership in delivering predictable, adequate, and accessible climate finance for both adaptation and mitigation. This includes honoring existing commitments and developing new fair financing instruments that reflect the needs of vulnerable regions. The East African Community and COMESA remain committed to transforming food systems to become more productive, climate resilient, nutrition sensitive, and inclusive, especially for smallholder farmers, women, and youth. Chair, we stand ready to work with all partners, including G20, to deepen cooperation in agricultural research, seed systems, trade facilitation, storage logistics, while advancing value addition and intra-regional trade to reduce vulnerability to external shocks. I thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We will now get the announcements of how the family photo will be taken in the various segments. And thereafter, we will be able to come back, and I'd like to give us 20 minutes to have the photo taken, and thereafter come back so that we can resume the whole process of getting our international organizations to take the platform. So we will get the announcements now.
Your Excellencies, we now invite you to the family photo, which will be done in 2 phases. The first photo will only include G20 members. Thereafter, for the second photo, we will invite every other invited guest and international organization on the family photo stage. Kindly note that in the first row will be G20 members, the second guest countries, and the third international organizations. Excellences, nous vous invitons à la photo de famille qui aura lieu en 2 étapes. En premier lieu, les pays membres seulement. En deuxième, tous les autres participants seront invités à rejoindre les pays membres. Au premier rang, les pays membres du G20. Au deuxième, les pays invités. Au troisième, les organisations internationales. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Let us proceed.
host broadcaster of the G20 South Africa 2025.
Our rolling coverage of the G20 Leaders Summit continues here at the Johannesburg Expo Centre, also known as NASREC. The plenary continues behind closed doors, but we are